Hi, it's Nikki here from Happy Hormones for Life. Today I want to talk to you about some myths, nutritional myths. So I'm going to be talking about 10 myths that particularly annoy me because, actually the internet is an amazing thing. And there are a lot of people out there giving lots of advice, which is amazing. But with all that information, it's hard to know what or who to believe in, and it can be a bit challenging. And despite huge advances in nutritional science, many practitioners are still getting it wrong. And I've read a few things recently that I'm frustrated about. So here are my sort of top 10 ranty myths, if you like. The first one is eat little and often. So one of the biggest nutritional myths still being advised is this one. So research now has shown us that, unless you are diabetic or you have hypoglycemic episodes, like if you get dizzy or faint or if you don't eat regularly, the body generally doesn't do that well on grazing all day long and snacking. That's because every time we eat, we produce insulin. Too much insulin means too much fat storing and too much inflammation going on. And so I think scientists are pretty much agreed now that if you leave 4 to 6 hours between eating, you give the body a chance to use up your sugar stores, start burning fat for energy, and get off that blood sugar roller coaster and stop too much insulin running around. Particularly if you struggle to lose weight and you get tired and moody and foggy during the day. So this is you're going to get the benefits of fasting without actually skipping meals. Myth number 2 is that saturated fat causes heart disease. Now, we've been told to avoid saturated fat since the 1950s when a study was done by a man called Ansel Keys. He linked dietary fat with heart disease, but the study was severely flawed and has now been debunked. So we now know that it's actually some polyunsaturated fats that, in terms of vegetable oils, that we need to be avoiding. Because they are unstable and they can turn into trans fats when they're treated and heated, as in most processed foods. They're also richer in omega-6 fats, which can be more inflammatory if they're out of balance. And for cholesterol, recent studies have shown that actually saturated fat raises HDL, which is your good cholesterol. Myth number 3 is that I'm kind of going on from myth number 2, but that low-fat products are healthy. So when you remove the fat from a food by processing it, you remove the taste. Fat tastes good. So they have to replace it with something, which is usually sugar or food chemicals. So natural foods contain fat for a reason. It's because we need fat as a nutrient for our hormones and our cells. It helps us absorb the fat-soluble vitamins that we can only get through fat, so A, D, E, and K. Fat doesn't raise your blood sugar, so it's healthy in that way. It fills you up, so you're not reaching for a snack later on. And that's what the taste is. It tastes pretty good. So healthy fats in their natural form are so important for your health. So enjoy your full fat milk, your yogurts and your butter, and eat your chicken skin and your potatoes cooked in duck fat. They are better for you than processed low fat alternatives. Myth number 4 is that the vegan diet is the most healthy diet. Firstly, there's no such thing as a one size fits all diet. Let's get that clear. I know people that thrive on vegan foods and some who don't thrive and kind of suffer. Secondly, if you can have a really, really healthy vegan diet and a really unhealthy vegan diet. So you can have one full of processed foods and meat substitutions and refined carbs and junk. Chips and bread are vegan, right? So you can live on that if you want to. Thirdly, there are nutrients that you can only get from animal foods, vitamin D and B12 being 2 of them. And the most absorbable form of iron can be in there as well. So make sure you're supplementing if you're on a vegan diet with those. Myth 5 is that carbs are bad for you. Right? I hear this a lot, particularly from women. Don't eat carbs is the one of the most dangerous kind of nutrition myths, if you like. If you don't eat any carbs, you're going to be ill. Carbohydrates are a macronutrient needed for lots of processes in the body. The thing you need to be aware of is the type of carbs you're eating, not the fact that they're carbs. All vegetables are carbohydrates, and most nutritionists would recommend at least half your plate is made up of plant foods and veggies. So choosing low GL carbs like brown or wild rice, quinoa, oats, buckwheat, that kind of stuff, and avoiding those refined white carbs is where you should be focusing. Myth 6 is that counting calories is the best way to lose weight. Well, we know that this one isn't true, right? The calorie myth is one of the most obsessive and long-lasting beliefs around food and weight loss. Your body is not a calorie bank account. It's a complex chemistry lab. And what you eat, calories in, and then expend, calories out, is not that simple. Your body is a machine that uses many different processes to regulate metabolism, fat storage, and energy expenditure. So calories are definitely not equal. Food goes through different pathways that impact how, what, and when you eat, despite the calories that it contains. Myth number 7 is that green juices and smoothies are really healthy. Now, this one might be controversial, but I'm not saying they're not healthy. I'm saying the problem is with juices in particular is that they are mostly high in sugar. Because they don't have any protein or healthy fats in them, that sugar can go straight into your blood and cause a bit of a blood surge. You need protein and fat to help to slow down that release of sugar into the blood. You also need protein for the liver to work properly. So if you're doing a juice program to detox yourself, you're not going to be helping your liver if you skip out the protein. Smoothies are great. Green smoothies are great mostly because they include the fiber from the fruit and veg, so they don't hit your blood sugar quite as much. The only problem with smoothies is a lot of people use spinach in most of their smoothies. Now, raw spinach is great in moderation, but it does contain oxalates. So when you have a lot of raw spinach, that oxalic acid can form kidney stones. So try and mix up your greens with other greens like kale, salad leaves, and other greens. Myth number 8 is that coffee's bad for you. We've been told for years that we should all be giving up coffee. But recent studies have shown that actually coffee can reduce our risk of several diseases, including diabetes, heart disease, stroke, Alzheimer's, and even cancer. So while caffeine does increase our blood pressure temporarily, scientists think that the antioxidants in the coffee are protective. But coffee isn't for everyone. Caffeine isn't for everyone. So if you don't do well on caffeine, that if you get jittery or anxious or have trouble with your sleep, you need to avoid it. Myth number 9 is that organic foods aren't worth the money. Now, of course, organic foods are a bit more expensive, and it depends whether you think that's worth it or not. For me, personally, I do, because non-organic fruit and veg is sprayed with pesticides, which we know are endocrine disrupting chemicals, and they're not very good for your cells either. So, eating organic where possible, where you're eating the skins of things is worth investing in my view. And the last myth, number 10, is that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. We've been told for decades, mainly by the big cereal manufacturers, to be fair, that eating breakfast is the best thing to do to kickstart your day, kickstart your metabolism, keep you energized. The truth is that everyone is different and there are no rules around this. Some people need to eat first thing to feel better, others do well on skipping breakfast and having something later on. And recently, with a huge interest in overnight fasting, many of us are benefiting from waiting a bit longer for our first meal of the day. But it doesn't suit everybody, so you kind of have to listen to your body. So those are my top 10 nutrition myths that need busting for now. Do check out my book if you'd like more information on what you need to be eating for your hormones, or do contact us if you need any help at all. I hope you found that was helpful and have a great weekend. Bye.